Okay, section 8.1, so the whole chapter 8 is on conic sections. Have any of you guys ever heard about conic sections before? Yeah. All right, so basically if I take a cone, or for one of them you have to take a double cone, so that's what you see on the board. If you take a cone and you slice it in different ways, you get the different conic sections. So this first slice, do you guys see it looks like this? You're slicing at an angle. It's kind of dark, but can you tell what shape that would make? Yeah, this one makes an ellipse, so it's going to make an ellipse. It's going to be circular, except it's elongated a little bit. All right, so that's called an ellipse. The next one, that's the one that's a parabola. So you can see why it's a parabola. So it widens towards the bottom. You're not going back around, you're not getting smaller to complete the rest of the oval shape. Okay, so that's going to make a parabola. You guys see that? Just wanted to show you these pictures before we start. Okay, this is when you need the double cone. So see how you slice straight down? You get a parabola here and another parabola there. All right, those two parabola type shapes are called, like together, it's called a hyperbola. We talked about hyperbolas when we did graphing rational functions. Okay, and then the last one is just slicing straight through. If you go straight through, then it's going to be a circle. Okay, so those are the different conic sections we're going to talk about. Okay, so it says a conic section is a plane figure formed by the intersection of a double right cone and a plane. The conic sections include, so if you look at your different pictures, there's actually a triangle too, but we're not going to talk about that. It's a triangle. The second one is a circle. The third one, since it's slanted a little bit, do you guys remember what that was called? Parabola. And a hyperbola. Oops. Okay, so not hyperbole like English, hyperbola. All right, and then I had the different conic sections sketched out in your notes for you so you can see them. All right, so number one, it says solve each equation for y and graph the equations on a graphing calculator. Identify each conic section, then describe the center and the intercepts. Use a table to confirm intercepts. So go ahead and get your graphing calculators out. If you don't have one, you can kind of share with the person next to you. All right, so in order to use your graphing calculator, you guys need y equals. So think about how you could solve for y. So get y equals. So how are we going to get y by itself in this first equation? What's the first thing we need to do? And don't really square it. Let's just subtract this whole chunk here. Let's subtract the x minus 1 squared. So I would have y minus 1 squared equals 1 minus that whole chunk, x minus 1 squared. Okay, so I need to slowly get the y by itself. So what's the next thing you think I need to do? Yeah, you need to get rid of the square there. So you're going to take the square root. And when we take the square root, we write plus or minus. Now you only have to write plus or minus on one side. Because if I had like x squared equals 4, remember when we took the square root, we always write x equals plus or minus 2. If you did it on both sides, that would just be a little too much. You know, like you'd have positive x equals positive 2, negative x equals positive 2. Well, that's the same as x equals negative 2. So you don't really need to do it with both sides. All right, so I take the square root. So now I have y minus 1 equals plus or minus the square root of 1 minus x minus 1 squared. So the last thing you need to do is just add the 1 over. So I'm going to put it out front like we did when we completed the square. Okay, so on your calculator, I want you to hit y equals. It's in the upper left corner. And you're going to put in two different things. Under y1, I want you to put 1 plus the square root of 1 minus x minus 1 squared. So when you put that in, it's going to look like this. 1 equals, or 1 plus, I mean. You'll hit the square root button. The square root automatically does 1 parenthesis. You'll have 1 minus parenthesis x minus 1 end parentheses squared, and then parentheses. That's ending that square root part. Okay, so that's what y1 is going to look like. Okay, y2 looks exactly the same, except you're going to have 1 minus the square root of 1 minus x minus 1 squared.
Where do you get the x?
Oh, sorry, x, it looks like x theta t. It's on the upper left underneath mode. Okay, so you have to graph both pieces because when we solved for y, we had 2 pieces when we took the plus or minus. So you have to put both in to create this whole conic section. So don't forget your plus or minus. Okay, so what happens when you graph that? What do you get? What kind of shape? Can you tell?
Supposed to hit the graph button.
Oh yeah, hit graph, sorry.
Mine says invalid dimensions. That takes my key my calculator.
Yeah, it's probably your mode. Okay. So let's see.
A lot of times, Jenny, that happens if there's stat plots on, and they have a,
Gotcha.
just turn all stat plots off.
Yeah, see this right here. It's how it's like plot 1. Enter that. So it's not going to do that plot 1 thing. Okay, and then hit graph. Alright, you might need to zoom in to see it. And then if you want your, like you know how your window is kind of a rectangle? If you wanted to make it more like the same units, you know, like it went up 1 and right 1 and it's nice and square, you can hit zoom and, or sorry, yeah, hit the zoom button in the middle under the blue, like under the screen. So it's blue, zoom, and then hit 5. And that will kind of square everything out, and then you can always zoom in and zoom out if you need to. But. All right, do you guys see what shape you get? Yeah.
Is it now mandatory for you to get it? You like do this on like a regular basis?
No, you can't do it on a regular calculator.
So mine graphs it, but then it's
She did it. Yeah, there's some round shares. Okay. Make sure you're using, when it's 1 minus the square root, make sure it's the minus sign, not the negative sign. And then the same thing here. Yeah, and the same thing for all the minuses. It's minus, not negative. Pick clear. Go up like this. Go up that. Yeah, you can always hit clear to clear out whatever you had. Okay. Okay, so here's what I got when I did it. If you kind of zoom in, you can see this better. But 1, 1 is the center, and it's a circle. So you'd write circle with center. You can hit zoom, and then I think it's 1, zoom in. So circle with center 1, comma 1. And then what are the intercepts? So do you guys see it touches there and it touches there? Or it looks like it does? Okay, so if you zoom in, you can see that a little bit better. So it looks like you have an intercept of 1, comma 0 and 0, comma 1. Okay, so you can confirm that with the table. So do you guys see the table button? It's on the upper right in blue. So Anthony, get with someone that has a calculator so you can see. You can use my calculator, but get with someone that has one. All right, when you guys hit table, table gives you like a t-table. So under x, you can put in different values for x. So let's see what you get when you plug in 1 and what you get when you plug in 0. And it will give you for y1 and y2. Okay, so y1 is the 1 plus the square root, and this y2 is 1 minus the square root. Y1 is the top. Y2 is the bottom.
There's a lot of errors.
will because, yeah, so you want to, if you guys want to adjust, so I need to get this on the screen so you can see it better.
It didn't even look like a circle, it looked like a square.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
Oh, yeah, I didn't
Oh, I
get it.
see it.
Oh,
Okay,
you-
so
you're
that
right.
means we didn't.
My fault.
You have to go
Sorry,
back.
I didn't see it.
Why equals? What did I do wrong?
Oh, why did you do that? Yeah, that was
All right, so if you guys want to be able to adjust the values you put in your table, okay, listen to this. This is important. You're going to do second. Do you see where above window it says table set? So second, table set.
That's what
You want to go down to independent and arrow over to ask. Okay, then hit enter. So, and then go back to your table. So do second, and then where the graph button above it, it says table, so second table. Now see how it's blank? You can put in whatever x values you want. So this is a good way to do a t-table on your calculator. So you can stop plugging everything in now. You can just go to your y1, plug in whatever function you have, and then plug in points for that. So plug in 1 and 0. Okay. Do you guys see when you plug in 1, it gives you two values. It gives you 1, 0, and it gives you 1, 2. The 1, 2 is for that second curve up on the top. So 1, 0, that is an intercept. And then see how when you plug in 0, it gives you 0, 1. All right, that's the other intercept. Okay, so let's try the other one. So try B. So for B, we're going to try to solve for y. So I'm going to subtract the 4x squared over. I get 25y squared. Divide by 25. So I get 100 minus 4x squared, all divided by 25. Okay, then take the square root of both sides. So you get y equals plus or minus the square root. So let's just do the square root on top, and then we'll do square root of bottom. So the square root of the whole bottom is just going to be 5, right? Okay, square root of top, it's not 10 minus 2x, right? You can't just take the square root of both pieces. Kind of like you can't do 10 minus 2x squared is 100 minus 4x squared. We're not allowed to do that. We'd have to FOIL it out. Okay, so we get 100 minus 4x squared still under the square root. Okay, so here's how you're going to put in y1 and y2. So y1, you would put in square root, parenthesis. It automatically puts that parenthesis in. 100 minus 4. And don't just hit the x squared button. A lot of people think if you hit the x squared button, it does x squared. It really just puts a square sign. So you want to put the x button and then hit the x squared button. Or you could raise it to the 2, like do your caret 2. Take all of that and divide by 5. And then y2, you're going to do the same thing, only you're going to have a negative out front. And this time it is the negative, it's not minus. So you're going to do 100 minus 4x squared divided by 5. Okay, when you guys do that, you should get not a parabola, an ellipse. Okay, so what you guys should have gotten is an ellipse. And so this is what I saw in most of your papers. It looked like this. So what do you guys estimate the intercepts are? So I heard 5, 0, and negative 5, 0. And then what else? Yep, you can always confirm with the table, so you can plug in 0 to the table. You get 2 for one of them, negative 2 for the other one. And then plug in negative 5 and 5, and you'll get 0 for both of them. All right, so those are your intercepts. What's the center? Yep, center 0, 0. So it's an ellipse with center 0, 0, and with those intercepts. Okay? I'll pause this.